What's up? I'm Amber. This is my first video. Probably not my last. But when I was doing dishes a minute ago, and God was like, go outside and tell your story about your grandma. Somebody needs to hear it. There's somebody out there that needs encouragement. So, I live in Georgia, and so did my grandmother. Early in the year, January, February, I believe it was 2024, a tornado came through Locust Grove and tore her trailer absolutely up, leaving her nowhere to go. So she needed my help, so I found her in a little trailer on Zillow or whatever, across the street from where she used to live. And she was there for about a year. And then I went and visited her. I would go over there and make sure, she's alright, and check on her house and go clean it up for her, and, just be there. And one visit we went, and she was just really weak, like she'd lost a lot of weight. I noticed that, she was skinnier, and I also noticed a lot of mold on the food. I noticed she wasn't eating. Also noticed that things were in the same spot as they were when I had been there the last time, like cushions on the couch or things on the floor or whatever. And she was walking around with me, and then she got really tired and was like, I need to sit down. I'm getting tired, So took her trash out, cleaned her kitchen, made sure she was alright, and then went back home. A couple days later, my dad calls me and tells me that she fell, and he had to call the ambulance to her to go help her up out the floor and get her back into bed. And me and my dad decided that she wasn't able to live alone because it was just too dangerous for her. So I immediately knew she was going to be coming to my house. God was like, she's going to come to your house. So I called my grandma, and she was a little reluctant at first, of course, as anyone should be that wants to be independent, but my goal with her being here was to get her back strong, make sure she was eating right every day, giving her medicines, and just being there and making sure she's not lonely. And so she came here. She's living with me, and I'm getting up every morning, getting her coffee, making her breakfast, giving her vitamins, making her laugh. And she's here for probably 2 weeks, just getting stronger. She's starting to pick herself up, moving herself around in the bed with her arms and whatever. And she's even telling me, she's like, I feel stronger, I feel good. I'm like, that's great, Grandma, I love that. And 2 weeks her being here, she goes in. I walk in her room in the morning to give her breakfast, and she just picks her shirt up to her hip and goes, feel this. I'm touching it, and it's this hard, squishy firmness under her skin, and it's big. And I looked at her and I said, what is that? She looked at me and she said, I know what it is. You know what it was? She knew what it was. I said, well, does it hurt? And I'm pushing on it. She goes, no, only when you push on it. I'm like, all right, well, sorry. And that was it with that. We didn't really discuss it. It wasn't I knew about it, she knew about it. I wasn't sure. I knew what it was, she knew what it was. It just kind of was like a silent agreement. So a couple days later, I go in there to give her lunch, and she says, I don't feel good. I feel funny. My heart's beating real fast. So I took her blood pressure and I checked her heart rhythm, and she went into AFib. So I called my dad. My dad's a firefighter, by the way. So I called him, like, hey, what would I do? And before I could get off the phone with him, he had already, like, called his people, and they were at my house before I was even able to call 911, which is a blessing. So they took her to the hospital. She was in there for about a week, and she went into AFib. She got out of it, but they found the mass on her colon. It was on her colon. And it's cancer, of course. And, you know, so she comes home on hospice. She comes home on hospice, and I'm explained what hospice is. And now I've got a nurse coming to the house to help me do things and check her out. And, you know, the whole time she's great. Like, she's in a great mood. She's still eating. She's talking. She's using a straw. She's, you know, she's not weak. And my nurse, Alex, love her so much. Love you. You're a godsend, literally. Alex, you know, told me about the medicines that you give to people on hospice to keep them comfortable, but also to keep the fluid from getting in their lungs, and they'll slowly suffocate if, you know, you don't administer the medicine. And my grandma was telling me, like, I don't want to take that medicine. Don't give me no medicine. You know, I'm fine. I'm not in no pain. I didn't believe her because, for one, I know her. Shoulders were up. Her, you know, she had, like, always this in her forehead, like she's in pain. I'm like, Grandma, you're uncomfortable. I can tell. She's, how do you know that? How do you know that? I can read your shoulders and your face. I can tell you're in pain. She'd go, you're just an angel. So I held off for as long as I could upon her request of not giving her medicine. It's morphine and another medicine. I can't remember it right now. But they're administered, like, together. And she was in pain. So she's been home probably like 2 weeks now from the hospital. And, you know, so I tell her, I said, look, it says for me to give you, like, whatever, like a whole syringe. And she said, don't give me no whole syringe, just give me a little bit. And I was like, all right, I'll just give you a little bit. So I gave her, like, a little tiny little bit. And no one tells you how to prepare yourself. When you're the one administering medicine to your loved one, you don't know the side effects or what it does to them. You just know it's supposed to help them, you know. That morphine, it put her on her ass for 3 days, man. I didn't talk to her for 3 days. She didn't eat nothing. She didn't wake up. I was changing her, you know, keeping her legs elevated and everything. And, you know, 3 days later, she's, you know, making noise, moving around. I'm like, Grandma, you awake? And I told myself, I'm not giving her no more of that medicine. Like, I refuse. Like, I like when she's here. And, she was weak, you know, but when she came out of it, she was in pain. Crying out in pain. And, so I had to give her some more medicine. And, but before that, I remember now, she woke up, she was talking to us, and my husband said, are you hungry? And she said, yeah, I want some ice cream. So she got some ice cream, months later, I told her, I'm going to give you some more medicine. I know you're in pain. She said, okay. She knew she was in pain. She agreed with me. And I told her I loved her, and I gave her more medicine and fluffed her pillows, and I made sure her blanket wasn't too tight on her toes. And I fixed her shirt in the back, make sure it didn't have no wrinkles. I took her glasses off. I brushed her hair. And it was 2 days after that she woke up. There was a period where, before I gave her medicine at all, I had it and she wouldn't let me give it to her. But her nails are real long, natural nails, and she had them painted, and she was ready for another color. She said, I want to paint my nails. So okay. So I went in there and took her nail polish off, got her all cleaned up and buffed up, shined up, and then I found some pretty paint that she wanted. She specifically wanted this like specific pink. I had to go out and find it, and I painted her nails. She cut them short, and I painted her nails. And then later on in the day, I go in there, how you doing, Grandma? How you feeling? And she said, whose hand is that? Talking about. She said, I keep thinking this is somebody else's hand. Is this my hand? I'm like, yeah, Grandma, that's your pretty hand. So I don't like this nail polish. You gotta take it off. It scares me. I keep thinking it's somebody else's hand laying on my leg. I'm like, alright. So I took it off. And then later on, she's telling me, she said, oh man, I'm craving an orange so bad. I need an orange in my life. So I was like, okay, well, you want like some orange juice, or you want an orange, or what? And she's like, I don't know. I just want an orange. So me and my husband literally went to Walmart, and we got every single kind of orange that they had. Like tangerines, looking cuties, the big oranges, grapefruit. Like, we got every single orange. We even got like the little cup of tangerines that you give your kids or whatever. And I made her like a platter of oranges and gave it to her. And she was satisfied. She was like, oh wow. She only ate one piece of orange. But I didn't care. I did whatever she wanted. Whatever she wanted, I did it. She wanted hummingbird feeders hung up out her window. My husband went out there on his ladder and hung up some hummingbird feeders outside her window so she could see them every day. That's just what you do. So it came time for me to have to give her medicine. She didn't want to take it. She didn't like taking medicine. And if she did take medicine, like, seriously, if she had like a bad headache or something, she would take like a half of one ibuprofen, like 200 milligrams. And then before it even gets all the way down her throat, she's like, oh yeah, it's working. It's already working. She was a lightweight, she really was. And she knew that. But she was in pain. I could tell. She didn't want to admit it. So finally, she let me give her the medicine. And I told her I wasn't going to give her the whole dose. I was like, I won't give you the whole dose. I'll just give you a little piece. And I did. I gave her like a fraction of the dose. And it put her out for like 2.5 days. And I hated it. I hated it. I couldn't talk to her. I hated it. So when she woke up, I was like, hey Grandma, oh my goodness, like, how you been, girl? she was tired and groggy, but she was okay. Like, she said she wasn't really in a lot of pain. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, maybe the medicine's working. Maybe it's just, it'll wear off and she won't be in so much pain. But if she is, let me know and whatever. But I did not want to give her any more of that medicine. I told her, I was like, I don't like that medicine. I don't like how it puts you out. And she was like, it does? So she didn't even know. She didn't realize. She's just sleeping, I guess. She don't know. But no one tells you. Nobody tells you about caregiver guilt. No one tells you about how when you are the one administering that medicine, that there is a guilt that comes after that. It doesn't make any sense. It's not true. But it is real. It's a guilt. So a couple days go by, and she's in pain again. I can just tell. She's ornery. She's short with me. She's, making her pain face with her, whatever it's called, 11 lines. And I told her, I said, Grandma, I don't want to give you any more medicine, but if you're in pain, let me know and I will. And, I asked her if she was hungry, and she was like, yeah, I want some ice cream. So my husband went and got her a little ice cream, and she ate it, and it was so good. She loved it. And then later on that night, I had to give her some medicine. I just had to. And that was the last time I talked to her. When your body... I assume that when your body is taken over by cancer and it's not fighting, the brain isn't aware and you're not able to fight it, it takes over. And it changed her. God had me in a place. I can explain it, but I can't explain it. It's like I knew in those weeks that I was taking care of my grandma. Those were her last days. I just felt like God had me up, like he had me like suspended away from the reality, the heaviness of it. I can't explain it, but he had me in a place where I just knew to do it. Just do it. And I did it. She kept calling me an angel. I just remember her, you're such an angel, you're an angel, you're an angel. And after she died, I really understood why she kept calling me an angel, because she thought she was gonna die alone of whatever was going on with her. She didn't know, but she was trying to be strong, keep it from her family. And I'm just so thankful that like God was able to put me in a position to have a house, to have such an amazing, supportive husband, and such a great spirit to be able to do what I did for her. Because she was not alone, and she had someone taking care of her that loved her so much. And I am so blessed to be able to have been able to do that for her. To give her that sense of safety and comfort and love and care. And it was hard. It was so hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I've lost 4 babies. And watching my grandmother be eaten away by cancer was so horrible. But I love that I got to do that for her. I love that it was me. And no one can ever take that away from me. But somebody out there is going through exactly what I went through. And they just need to hear that what you're doing is bigger than you. It is. And just take comfort in knowing that not everybody gets to die in comfort. Not everybody gets to die surrounded by people they love. Not everyone gets to have the last days being taken care of by someone that loves them. A lot of people are in homes and they're mistreated, or they're just left wherever. No one cares. They're in their house. No one calls. But my grandma got to be surrounded by people that made her world, made her their world. And it took me a year or so to not feel guilty, like I killed her. Like I felt like I killed her. Once God slowly put me back down and the reality set in of what I had done and what an amazing, just absolute, how he set me up to be able to do that. And I was so appreciative, and I don't still struggle with the guilt, but just up until recently I was. And I think that's why I felt like I should make this video, because you gotta know, you really do, you gotta know that just because you're the one giving them the medicine doesn't mean you're killing them. You're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. Pray for strength. And just know that, you did something amazing. Death can be a beautiful thing. It's sad. But God put people in such the perfect places in this exact scenario, for it to just work out the way it did. And I wasn't even supposed to get this house. Me and my husband bought this house in 2017, and we were going through some hard times, and we went to a bankruptcy lawyer, and we sat down with them to see what our options were, and they went through some documents or whatever, and the lady was like, I don't even know how you're a homeowner. How were y'all able to buy this house, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Okay, well, don't tell nobody. So just, kind of knowing that solidifies the fact to me that God knew I needed this house so that 8 years from then, I would be housing my grandmother here. I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to show someone I love them. Not just say it, but really be about it. And I know I loved her, because if I didn't, it wouldn't have hurt me so much. But somebody out there needed to hear this. You're not alone. And what you're doing is amazing. And it's hard. And it's scary. Sometimes it's gross. Sometimes it's a little like, what am I doing? Am I making this worse? No? Okay. Well, so, after a couple days, I called my dad and told him, I think it's getting close to time, and he needs to call his brother to let him know. Because at the time, I was, like, not in, like, the best way with my uncle, my dad's brother, and we hadn't talked in, like, years. Not really anything that I did. I was a kid and whatever, but, like, we just don't talk. Like, we just don't have a relationship. And, the one time that I did see him was, like, Christmas of one year, and he made this stupid remark, and I cussed him out, and then, like, I went home, and I didn't talk to him after that. Well, his mother's at my house now, and I believe that it's important for him to come and see her, tell her goodbye, tell her he loves her. And in doing that, he came and saw my house and how I was taking care of Grandma, and God fixed that too. He mended a relationship that I didn't even know I cared about, I went in there at 7 o'clock to check on her, and her breathing had changed. And it was so weird because before she went to the hospital, she was telling me about her grandmother and how her grandmother was on hospice, and she took care of her grandmother, and she slept in the same room. And she knew that her grandmother was about to die because her breathing changed. And I feel like that was her basically foreshadowing. But, so yeah, her breathing changed. And I felt like that was her telling me, And so I told her, I said, Grandma, I love you. You did it. Like, you did it. You're 84 years old, like, you sailed the Keys, like, you learned to be a truck driver at 55, like, she wrote articles in this newspaper for like 20 years. She did all kind of cool shit. Like, she was the coolest grandma ever, dude. Like, she was so cool. And I told her, I was like, you did it. You won. And I gave her a kiss. And I opened her window because the train was coming. And she loved the train horn because it reminded her of her daddy, because he was a fireman on the train. If you don't know, a fireman is he would shovel the coal into the steam engine or whatever it was on them old trains. So she loved to hear the train when it would go by. So I opened the window and I turned her oxygen machine off so she could hear the train because it was so loud. And I walked out and came back in 10 minutes later. She was gone. So I called the hospice people and then called the nurse, and then they called somebody out there, and then the funeral home came and they picked her up and took her to the funeral home. Called my dad. It's hard. And I didn't even, like, hang out with my grandma. Like, she lived in South Carolina, or North Carolina. Was it North Carolina? Yeah, she lived in North Carolina. And then moved to Locust Grove and lived down there for like 20 years. But she was kind of like a recluse, you know what I'm saying? Like, she would come by like every once in a while, maybe every like 4 years or something. But I guess I can really only count maybe 6 or 7 times that I got to like spend time with her. She didn't raise me, you know. I didn't see her every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every New Year's, every Easter. I didn't see her like all the time. She would send me cards and stuff, but I knew she loved me. Like, whenever I was around her, I knew she loved me. She just made it so evident, and would just say just the sweetest things, like just call you sugar, and you just knew, like, you love me. I miss her. When that tornado came through and hit her trailer, I was telling her, take cover right now, because I was watching it. I was like, you need to take cover right now, on Messenger. And a couple hours went by and she wasn't active, and I was like, Grandma, are you okay? Like, are you good? And she sent me the strong arm emoji. That was my grandma.